So, as always, it's great to be with you guys. And while we're waiting for Mary Kay, just a couple of fun things to consider. You know, I've got that amazing workshop that's every December on the island of Maui. I want you to consider thinking about that because it's filling very rapidly. I don't have a whole lot of rooms left yet. Well, Mary Kay has arrived. Hi, Mary Kay. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Deborah. How are you today?
Just good, really. So rather than me talk about you, why don't you go ahead and start talking? I think your story is a pretty interesting one.
Well, thank you. It's such a joy to be here. I'm just thrilled. So I'm a life force healer and a yoga teacher and a hospital chaplain. I'm wife, mother of 5 children. Now they're wonderful adults and 8 grandchildren. Our little Victoria died when she was 9 months due to a heart problem. So she's our little angel in heaven.
Just a question.
Yeah.
I didn't catch whether Victoria was your daughter or your granddaughter.
Granddaughter.
Granddaughter. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Back in the day, I studied business management and communications at the University of Notre Dame. I was in the first women's class to graduate there. And right away, I went for a master's in theology because I was passionate about theology. I couldn't get enough knowledge about myself and about the Holy One. And so that's been a great part of my life. And my theme to share is one of seeking truth and healing. And I'd like to share with you and everyone how this has played out and how this brought me to life force energy healing and why I'm thrilled to be part of this process here. I grew up in the Chicago area, and when I was a little girl, my mother had tremendous expectations for me before I was born. I was to be the answer to Barbara Walters after she passed off. I mean, I can't tell you the ambitions my mother had for me. And God bless her. She loved me passionately, and I know it, even though I couldn't feel it for very obvious reasons I'll share. Mom made sure I had the best ballet lessons, piano lessons, charm school, learned how to sew, knit, ballet, drama. I was in music theater. I did a lot of things. And it was to cultivate me, basically, so my life would be much better than hers, since she had worked so hard in her life, which was the tradition. My grandparents were immigrants, and they worked very hard. They had a harsh life. Consequently, both my parents, children of immigrants, very, very fine, wholesome people, but their lives were based on survival and working hard. Consequently, a lot of needs weren't met. And so Mom, and I know in a gazillion years, she would never have wanted to create any harm. I know that. But she had emotional issues, and she had hormonal challenges such that she just screamed all the time. So no matter what I did, I was kind of crumpled up into a graham cracker that was just rolled over by a rolling pin. And that was my existence. We were raised in a very strict home. There were 4 of us kids. And I, of course, tried to be the best little girl in the world. Mom told me when I was 1.5 that I could go to the White House, wear white gloves, and she'd be very proud of me, that I would have no issues at all and make her proud. So it was a very interesting kind of a subculture that I grew up in. My first experience of energy healing, though, was quite significant, and I was about 6 or 7 years old. My escape from the dissonance at home was to go catch butterflies. And I would go into what I called, and how symbolic is this, the big field across the street. And there was a home across the street. Behind the home was this huge field of weeds, and then there was the woods. Well, I would run for hours catching butterflies. And one day, I stopped in the middle of the field, and time slowed down. I could feel the vibrations of the wings of the little critters. The clouds were drifting, the leaves were swaying. I had such a deep peace. There was such a lovely feeling of how everything in nature was working together. And all I had to do was stand there and just relax. And I had such peace. Well, that moment was a life marker for me, because if it happened once, it could happen again, right? And it never happened to that extent. But every time I went to catch butterflies afterwards in the big field, there'd be some remnant of that going on. And upon reflection, that was truly a new beginning, and the beginning of my path here, exploring energy healing. So I would like to skip to when I was in high school and senior graduation. Always being very driven, going for the straight A's. I mean, high achiever, hard worker. I was at the senior honors assembly, and I had done everything possible in the high school to volunteer because I believed in service, and I wanted to help earn money for college. And there was a $200 scholarship for the person who made the most contributions. And oh, Deborah, did I work hard. I mean, from citizenship chairman, putting footprints on the ceilings of the high school, to doing choreography for the boys' chorus line. They were football players, and they were just stripping out of banana peels to Chiquita. I just went for it all. And I spent hours and hours just giving of myself for everything. Well, the assembly came, and of course, I didn't get the award. My best girlfriend did. Now, she was the daughter of the guidance counselor. Enough said, all righty? I knew I wasn't
You had an
really.
inside position.
Oh, no kidding here, because she did not do a heck of a lot. So I got home that night, and of course my parents were just fine with it, no problem at all. But I sobbed downstairs. I sobbed like I had never had before, and I did a lot of sobbing in my life. My gosh! And in the middle of it, there was this calm and this peace. And it was just like this very loving presence, just telling me, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. I'm still going to go to college. It's all going to work out. And I wanted to give, I mean, I was so idealistic when I looked back. I so passionately wanted to give my best to God and live in the right way. So that was a turning point in just the intensity of the emotion to be interrupted and to receive peace. And it was kind of like in the big field, being all agitated, but then receiving some peace here. And so, of course, I hopped among denominations when I was in college to check things out. I had a very positive experience learning about laying on of hands in a Pentecostal church. And there were a few healings. And then from there, I had an extraordinary experience of healing when I met Mother Teresa of Calcutta. And this is in the late 80s when she was consecrating a monastery in the Chicago area. After the Mass, she spoke about the Beatitudes and how we are to live them in our families. And then we had the opportunity to meet her. So I made sure I was at the end of the line, so I might be able to get a little more time in. And when it was my time, I had to walk about 15 feet away from where I was standing. And this is the way the line went. So everybody had a private moment with St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta. When I was about 5 feet away from her, I felt as if I was walking into a dense rock. And that's the best way I could put it. It was peaceful. It was not harmful. It was very solid. And she was such a frail twig. Immediately, I had the thought, this is what's holding her up. It's this force field around her. And that registered in a very good way. To be present with her, all I could do was kiss her hands. And she said, no, 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 basically go away. But she was a very, very respectful and respectable presence, good heavens. But that was a significant moment for me as I'm trying to put together what these experiences are about.
Can I get you to repeat a word you said when you 5 feet away you felt some kind of a field? What was the word you used?
The density of a rock.
Okay.
Like I walked into a rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't hear the word.
And from there, I would say my next energy healing, or I would say healing experience, but it all pulls together and it does in the end, was when I was present to an apparition of our Blessed Mother when she was visiting the United States in 1989. I believe it was in 88 when my husband and I went out to Medjugorje. I had given birth to my third child, and they said, well, anything you want, you can have. Well, there's nothing more I wanted than a husband who would pray with me. And he was so busy at work. We were like on 2 different planes. And we went together. We had a ball. It was so much fun. He was never so lively with so much humor. We laughed so hard. It would hardly be what people would classify as holy, but it was what we both needed. And so I was in the circle at the time. In the following year, one of the visionaries came to the area, to the home of the editor of Medjugorje magazine, who lived in Oak Brook, Illinois, close by to where we used to live.
Let me just stop for a second, because a lot of our viewers don't know about Medjugorje. Why don't you just take a second and tell everybody what it is?
Medjugorje is a place in Croatia where allegedly it hasn't been approved by the church yet officially, but the Blessed Mother has been appearing there since 1981 to a small group of visionaries who are grown up now. And her message has been one of peace, of prayer, and fasting. When I was there, the message was, please, please pray for young people, how they need that support and direction and grace. So back to Oak Brook, Illinois, when the visionary came in, before the Blessed Mother was to speak, we were praying the rosary and all on our knees on the floor. Now, I might have been one of the very few who were towards the back, and I was on the wooden floor, no carpeting under my knees. And I have cranky knees from modern dance lessons for years. Well, when I knelt there and prayed at the time, I felt lighter than a feather. I could have been there for 3 hours in that position. When it was time after 15 decades that we arose, my gosh, I was ready to run a marathon. And that was very significant to me about we are beings of what? Light, energy. I think of Milan Kundera's book and his film about the incredible lightness of being. And to me, that was quite a moment. And just a couple other highlights mentioned very quickly. I was struck by an aggressive breast cancer in 2003. I was overextended. I was teaching full time. I was running around with my 5 children, and these days, as all listeners know, when your kids are involved in sports, in dance, there are no boundaries. And you start at 6 in the morning and you can end at 11, 12 at night. And it goes weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, school days. And I was so dedicated to be sure all of my kids had what they needed. And it was just craziness on me. So of course the body broke down. When I went through this dense chemo, I was so sick, I decided that the chemo is going to kill me. So I quit. I mean, I'm sure I'm okay. I wasn't too worried about surviving for whatever reason. The day I quit, after the second of 4 treatments, when I told the doctor, he said, well, if that's my choice, I said, absolutely. He said, well, then I take full responsibility. My family went absolutely berserk. Why are you killing yourself, Mom? Right? And I had this confidence.
I mean, they were opposed to you quitting the chemo?
Quitting, absolutely. And as much as I said, it's the chemo that's killing me, that fell on deaf ears. Well, when I made the decision to quit the chemo, I walked out of the doctor's office, and of course I'm crying again, and I ran into a nun at the cancer center, and I told her what I had done, and she just lit up, and she says, oh, take a seat, take a seat. And the dearest woman, and she's shown up at special times in my life, unfortunately, she's not around at all anymore, and she said, you are fun. You are fun. Like, she's just speaking right to my heart, my core being, all the atoms in my body. She says, you are healed. And she says, and take with you the words from Luke's gospel that the prodigal father says to the oldest son. And what did he say? He says, you are with me always, and everything I have is yours. And I just felt that so deeply in my heart that we are all one with the divine. Everything that belongs to the divine is ours. It's just one, and we belong. So it was just a beautiful message. That healed body, soul, mind, and being. All righty, now we're getting to some more substantive experiences. So 2007, I ran a camp at a church for 3 parishes. And it was very rigorous. It was for all kids, all ages. But this particular picnic was for adolescents, and it was for high school kids. At the very end, Deborah, and this is a hoot, there was a time when all the kids get a chance to shake and cream down the camp director and pour buckets of water on her head and do all of this kind of crazy stuff, which I still can't understand why it's such a thing, but just went with it. Well, I played so hard. I mean, so hard, made such a big deal and gave everybody else attention. My prostheses were falling out of my bra. And I thought, holy moly, this is not good for the kids. I mean, this is bad stuff. Okay, so I'm going through this panic attack, and I can't get myself loose from all these kids on top of me. And so I basically screamed out, emergency! I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go to the bathroom. I just know what else to do. Okay, so I fixed my body, went back out, and said goodbye to everybody. Was so exhausted, just beyond exhausted, but I was peaceful. Okay, did an errand in the church, came back outside. Oh, good heavens! And this has been like the biggest trigger to nudge me into studying with you. When I went out to the area where all the children had been, and it was a green grassy area in front of an old convent, and I would say the dimensions might be 50 yards by 25 yards. Mm-hmm. That whole area was covered with the most delicious light in the world. It was beyond my imagination. I just never knew this existed. It was a white blue, and it was effervescent. It was glorious. It was peaceful. It was, I could never put enough adjectives to give it the honor that the glory of the moment was. And I stood there, and first thing that came to my mind was the moment of transfiguration of Christ. And I thought, oh, Peter, forgive me, I really dumped on you, I mean, I thought he's been so stupid all these years for saying, well, build me a temple here. And I thought, I would want to build a cathedral. I want every person in this world to be here, to experience this. I wanted to stay there. I wanted to lay on the ground, but it's a dangerous neighborhood. That'd be a dumb thing to do. And my family was waiting for me to come home to go out for pizza that night. So, what do you do, right?
That's very
So,
prosaic to go from that light to the pizza.
Oh, let me tell you, and that's life, right? That's what we do.
Isn't
So
it?
I walked through it. I prayed it would stay in me, and I wanted to use it to be able to bless others, to do whatever needs to be done in my life and for other people. And I just thought that was so incredible and always wanted to revisit it. Well, I've been able to recreate it sometimes in my imagination, but never to that depth and breadth as that initial experience. But that spoke to me very, very loudly. Then another great energy healing experience for me had been after a boating accident a few years back when my ankle was so twisted up. I was just frolicking in pain. And I always go to an acupuncturist. There wasn't anything broken, but I don't know how it could be so messed up. And acupuncture didn't work. No matter what I didn't work really. And so a person actually in my small group with life force healing worked on it. And he said he put significant time into it. And God bless the guy. I mean, my foot was okay, and I was able to cope and take it from there. And so all through my life, I've had a tremendous passion to help people, and I thought the best way was to work in the institutional church. I mean, I just gave my life for that. I decided that I would get every experience I could so that when the kids grew up and were out of the house, I could finally work as a full-time associate pastor at Deborah. And garnered all sorts of experiences. Most of it was just volunteer work. Because most of it was volunteer work, I had to get jobs, professional jobs, outside of this whole religious deal here, which, when I look back, was one of the greatest treasures of my life to help me become a fully developed human being and get a grip on full reality here. But I did jobs that were very well paying, from being a metallurgical technician, sloshing around the basements of the steel mills in Gary, Indiana, collecting morgue oils and testing them in a lab, and that was all shift work. So I go from that gamut all the way to a high glamour PR for a large business lobby across from the White House in Washington, D.C., where I wined and dined executives, took them to the Kennedy Center, and so forth. Advertising coordinator, circulations director. I mean, I did all these other things while I would be volunteering in the church. And of course, there would be nothing for women. And then now, when I'm finally free, it's not the time for women. So what I've decided is my church is the whole world. And whoever our beloved brings to me, I will try to give them the best that I can. And what life force healing has done, it's given me a prophetic way of being, basically. It's a new way of being, in that my awareness and self-awareness is increased. And I feel so much more confident that I can be giving goodness and life to others. I was recently on this trip to Europe, and the coordinator had COPD, and she was having these attacks without any medication. Well, I didn't want to see her with pneumonia in a hospital, and so I worked with her, and we muddled through, but I am confident that our beloved used me to help her kind of get through this, because it was very raw and it was bad. So I think that the skills that we learn allow us to give back a lot of goodness into the world, and I'm very, very grateful. So in a scoop, that's my story.
Well, it's extremely interesting. I'm sitting here thinking about a lot of it. I do have some questions that I think would be helpful to all of our participants today. I bet they have questions for you too. One of mine is your experience with breast cancer. You didn't mention if you'd had surgery.
I did. I I had a full mastectomy.
So it was just the chemo you cut back on.
I eliminated it.
And we're talking like 15 years ago. So
That's
clearly,
right.
yes, clearly that was the right decision for you. And I think that's a brave position that should become a hallmark of your speaking, Mary Kay, because a lot of people often ask about that, often ask me about making choices about their own medical care. And again, all we can do is urge them to use their wisest, higher self-advice along with all their medical professionals, and then just weigh it for themselves. But we want people to feel competent to make medical decisions of their own. And, we don't often in our society. Right. We often feel like we have to, like just sort of go with the flow. And and so I think you could be very helpful to people here with your personal story. As I say,
I would hope so. I used photonutrients a lot at the time, and I was made fun of galore. But you know what? That's nothing new in my life. Whenever I really try to stay true to my own path, but I've been made fun of a lot. And I have no regrets at all, because I love who I am and who God has made me to be. And I wouldn't repeat anything. Yes, I would have made some different choices. Yes, I made my big groups, whatever. But big picture, I just think that the choices we make that probably bring us the most suffering might be the wisest ones we make sometimes.
But I'm just thinking you're very empowered, and you're a wonderful example and mentor to other people who, and on on a lot of different fronts. But that's the first one I'm zeroing in on, as you can stand up and be an example to others of, hey, you do have discretion. You have your own discretion when it comes to making medical decisions, and you should never not honor it. Yeah. But but look at how much honor you did give Western medicine. You had the surgery.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a good story. I was also quite taken with the various experiences you had with energy, from the butterflies in the field to you mentioned the one with Saint Teresa, who I would have loved to have met personally. I'm envious. I never met her. To the experience you had in Medjugorje. And I'll tell you what I'm discerning, what I'm sensing here is that you came in this lifetime at a pretty high level. And boy, have you maxed your opportunities here. You didn't slip down. You've done nothing but try to hit higher notes. You have an incredible amount of energy and vibrancy, and you're just chock full of life. So you're a really good example of, I want to hold you out to our viewership here as a good example of who we all want to be. Okay. So I'm sure it won't go to your head, because this is not your issue. This is not your issue, I can tell. But yeah, no, you're a great example of putting in a road that others can get on. So you're really ready to teach. My only suggestion to you is that you might look a little wider for opportunities in the church that you have such longing to serve, because your background is the same as mine.
Yes, I know.
Yes. And I also pick up a former lifetime of yours that's the same as mine.
Oh.
Yes.
I hope it was a good one.
It was. You were a nun.
Not surprised.
Yes.
And you must have been Mother Superior.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Certainly bossy enough. But what I'm seeing is, if you can look beyond the horizon that was given you, there are other opportunities where women are the pastor. And there's no reason, as hard as it is for those of us that are raised in a certain church, there's no reason why we can't look around a little bit and think about other opportunities. I'll tell you that I have a student who, this is some time ago, this is a long time ago, who was a Catholic priest who finally left to continue his priesthood in the Episcopal Church because he was opposed to some of the teachings that were cultural teachings, not religious teachings. But this was back in the day when there were narrow teachings that the church no longer espouses about gays and, you know, some other topics. But he was very opposed to the fact that women weren't allowed to be involved. Mm-hmm. So
God bless him.
Yeah, and I used to, before I became so involved as a teacher as I am now, and I had a private life a million years ago. I used to race over to the church at the mission in Santa Barbara, the Catholic Mission Church, and sing and have fabulous choir, okay, sing in the choir, and then quick jump in the car and drive 2 blocks and catch the homily at the Episcopal Church that was just 2 blocks down, taught by a woman. Okay, so I would race to see her, and then I would jump in the car and I would drive across town to the close to the waterfront where there was an evangelical church where I would pray in tongues with the evangelicals. What a Sunday.
How beautiful.
This was my classic Sunday. I managed to cram in all those, in all those experiences. So yeah, I would encourage you to be open to some other venues because I am seeing you in the pulpit. And I don't think I'm pretty sure I'm not looking at another lifetime here. I think it's this one.
Well, I believe in miracles.
Well,
that would be a real one.
No, you might look around. There may be other opportunities for you, and just think outside the box.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will.
Well, loved having go right ahead. What was your comment?
In studying Kuan Yin, she stretched my horizons a little bit. Whereas prior
now tell everybody who you're talking about because they may not know who she is.
Well, I want to be accurate about her dateline, and I cannot be. But
I don't know the dateline.
Okay, but she was a Taoist goddess, I believe, Central China. She was a human person who endured incredible suffering at the hands of men, spouses, and so forth when she was on Earth. And she decided that she would come back and just bring goodness to people. And I am not sure if she reincarnated or not exactly. I don't quite understand the transition from a human to becoming a goddess and so forth. It's beyond me. But what stayed with me was the fact that her shamanic presence to me in a moment of prayer somehow kicked into my being able to receive the presence of our Blessed Mother more fully.
Well, she carries the Virgin's energy.
There we go.
So that let me just interrupt for just a second because I want our viewers to really know this. So the divine feminine energy moves from person to person throughout human history. And Kuan Yin is definitely one of the most prominent carriers of it. And she appears in not just the Chinese culture. You know, she's been adopted by the Japanese and another Eastern culture. Very prominent there. But you can pick up that energy on just about every continent with a different figure. So as I always teach, you with your Catholic background will likely perceive the Virgin Mary, but somebody else with a Buddhist background or a Hindu background will perceive a goddess in their tradition, but it's the same divine feminine energy.
Well, I believe it because it was very integral to Blessed Mother and it opened my eyes to the oneness of the divine feminine.
Yes.
Before then, I
Cool.
kind of had question marks, and it's been a growth curve. And now I have no question at all.
Well, I can't wait for you to start teaching as you are today. And I love giving you an opportunity to teach because you're already, you're all ready. You have all these life experiences, and you've made, as I used to say years ago, you made a lot of lemonade out of a few lemons that you got. I had one other question. Did your parents go to college?
Both of them did. And actually, and let me add a little more there. Dad was a navigator for World War II. Came back, put himself through University of Pittsburgh, right? And he worked very, very hard, had an excellent position in the steel mills, and was always absent. And so that was
the style then.
Yeah, and it was. Mom was so proud of her accomplishment, graduating from the University of Pittsburgh. And she's the first woman in her lineage. And there are so many outstanding qualities about her that I love and respect.
And where did they immigrate from?
Slovakia, from the Bratislava area of Slovakia.
No wonder you liked Medjugorje then.
Yeah,
well, it's kind of around the corner.
It sure is.
It was like going home.
It was an experience of feeling like at home, a bit. But then I've learned that our spiritual roots, and this is fascinating, are a little different than maybe our blood roots. I've recently been in Aylesford, England, which is the home of the Carmelite beginnings, when the hermits were chased off of Mount Carmel in Jerusalem back in the 1200s by the Moors because they're being beheaded and whatever. So they ran over to Europe, right? Well, it was in, I think it was 1247, where there was this huge meeting where the hermits decided they aren't going to be able to survive anymore unless they become mendicants. Well, that is part of my own spiritual tradition here. And here's what's fascinating to me, was that being on that property, knowing that how, what do I want to say, Slovak Catholics take pride in being the sterling of the church and so forth, I wondered, how could I step out of this Slovak Catholic inculcation and be so receptive, feel so peacefully at home and comfortable in this milieu. And it was such a sense of wholeness and beauty. And I thought, wow, what a learning. And then I was trying to pull in all of my church experience there, and just shook my head and said, what a divine mystery this is. And I'm just so grateful you're in my life at this time, so I can learn, thrive, and grow, integrate, and move on.
Well, I think you have an enormous future in front of you, Mary Kay. I think you're just kind of getting going here. I think you've stepped over the threshold.
I hope so.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
It's a long haul, isn't it? It seems like a lot of preparation. And that's why I seldom give date lines to people, because when I tell them soon, they have no idea that could be 10 years. That you're right on the edge of something, because it can be a long process. As humans, we're looking for something much quicker, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, like yesterday. Thank you. Right.
All right. Well, let's take a few calls here. Let's see. I'll go look at the question board. Great to be with you guys. There's Cassie Brunette. Cassie, let's see if you can join us here. And sometimes I can invite a third person up. So Cassie, see if you can join me. I don't see Cassie coming. Let me give it another try. Whoops, where'd Mary Kay go?
Hi,
Is that Cassie?
this is Cassie.
Hi, Cassie. I guess
Hi.
it's only one at a time today. Hi, what city and state are you in? Or city and country, I should say.
I'm actually from Ottawa in Canada.
Okay.
Right now, I'm actually in Miami visiting a friend.
Uh-huh.
And yeah,
How can I
so
help you?
I worked with a walk-in about several years ago, and I've had a problem ever since. It's unusual. He somehow has attached part of himself psychically because I can hear him, negative energy around me. He can cause health problems. So somehow he's active with about 35 healers, practitioners who are wonderful, but we have not been able to clear him out. And he's also affecting some of my other friends that were doing some of the sessions. And I have a friend right here that he's also affecting as well, Robert.
Uh-huh.
So it's unusual. And he would create rashes sometimes. Other healers have picked up on portals and implants and strange things like that. So a lot of negativity.
Well, I'm getting something very different here. Maybe we could turn your sound down because I'm getting an echo. This isn't the different I was referring to. There's something where you're from.
Can you
Let's try that. Nope, I'm still getting that echo. Do you hear it, Cassie?
No, I don't.
Do you have two devices? Do you have another computer that's on? Oh, good, it's gone. Okay, so what I'm sensing is that you had an exposure. How long has this been going on? A couple of years? At least,
6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
You had an exposure, not to a person, but to a field of energy that you inadvertently opened yourself to sometime in the last 10 years, I would say, that left you vulnerable to ideas like this. So this energy is an idea. It is not real.
Okay.
So it's firmly planted in your field, so it looks and feels real to you. And when you tell other people about it, they take you and that statement at face value, but in fact, it's an idea. It is not real. You picked it up doing something like a Ouija board, some kind of exposure to the fifth level. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, that would be working with this walk-in. He had us. It was very different work for me before I had done very easy type of work, where he opened us up our chakras, and he would talk about other galaxies or other planets. And I wondered if that was, because that's when I started, within my 6th session of working with him, we were doing these webcasts. And that's when I started hearing weird things, experiencing strange things.
He wasn't legitimate. This was a feels more like a little bit of a scam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's impregnated your field, but it's information and it's an idea. It's not him. He's not as strong as you are.
Okay.
Your field is actually, your energy field is actually intact, but in it, I sense or see this idea of risk and harm and effect, negative effect.
Yeah.
But you can back it right out of yourself and walk on and never deal with it again. I can help you remove it. We can do this to ourselves. We can take an idea in, and pretty soon we believe it 100%, 110%. And everyone who's here today, we've all had an idea. Cassie's just happens to be kind of otherworldly and sort of spooky, but in fact, we can convince ourselves of something that isn't real, can't we? I mean, we all can do that. that, you know, that will, you know, never get a good job, or that, you know, our mother doesn't love us. I mean, we can pick anything and just sort of work ourselves into it. So your field has multiple levels, and on the 5th level of Cassie's field, I can see and sense this thought form. It's like a little, it's like a little object. And literally just using my intentionality, I can just carry it right on out. You don't need to have it with you anymore. See, now it's not there now. So as long as you don't validate it, Cassie, you quit talking about it, quit focusing on it, come up with a list of positive affirmations about yourself, your safety, your integrity, that you have, your field has integrity, that you are safe, that your experiences with this guy or thing of the past, just like an old boyfriend, right? Separate yourself from him. Mentally separate yourself from him. Quit thinking about it. Quit talking about it. Quit seeking sessions about it. That's driving it in deeper.
Okay. But I shouldn't hear anything anymore?
No.
It should be
No, you shouldn't
silence?
hear a thing. It's mostly, though, up to you. So I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying that this is your task. This is your challenge. You were given a distorted block of information, and part of it you took within yourself. I would encourage you to stay away from anything of that nature. You're not particularly safe in those kinds of environments. You would be the last person I would suggest to do anything kind of out there. I would want, because you're so Vata, and now I'm switching gears and talking about the Ayurvedic types. Are you familiar with them? You're full of the air quality.
A little.
And us air people, we're not as rooted, not as earthy, not as stable as somebody who's just full of the earth. You know, that's not you. You're more the air, so you're more susceptible. And I would encourage you to be sure you meditate every day, make sure you get fresh air every day, and put this behind you. Just like Mary Kay did with her breast cancer experience. She's not focused on it. She doesn't have it. It's gone. So your thing is gone. All right.
Okay.
Good job.
Wonderful.
Very nice to have met you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. You too. Okay. Bye.
And, oops, wrong field. It was great having Mary Kay here. I'm sorry that we lost her. Thanks again to her great story. How about Deborah? Deborah, I see you have a question. And let's see if Deborah can join me. Let me go look and see. I can check over here and see if Deborah's able to accept. Looks like you're coming my way, Deborah. So just a couple of things. I have spent the last year working on a energy healing of pets and animals course, and it just went live perhaps yesterday. Pretty excited about it. I'll drop the link in here in the chat room. Pretty sure that that's the link. Somebody can check it for me. And I'd love for you to come look at it. It's on pre-launch right now, so it's especially available. And if you're one of my level 4 or level 5 students, remember that you will automatically get the course, that you have access to my entire library. So I'd be very excited to hear everybody's feedback on it, but sign up for it soon because it's starting soon. Oh, thank you, Shirley. I see Shirley put a live link in here. I'll go back and look at questions again. I have time for another question. Hey, Jill, let's see if Jill can join us here on the screen. She says she just started my Be a Modern Master course and has a question about it.
Hi, Deborah. How are you?
Hey, Jill. Hi.
Hey.
Nice to meet you. What city are you in?
Bluffton, South Carolina.
Okay. Well, welcome to the Be a Modern Master course.
Thank you. So during the discussion, there's a lot of talk about initiation. Can you explain what that is? I know it's something that sort of...
I devote 2 weeks to it on the course.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be hard for me to talk about it in a couple of minutes, but I'll tell you, when I was listening to Mary Kay, did you hear Mary Kay talk earlier?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The experience she described with the butterflies was an early initiation and you might have had that. So let me just talk about that first level initiation for a moment. So you might have had this aha moment where you were chasing butterflies like she was, or skiing, or at the birth of your first child, or in an intimate moment with a partner. We have this moment where we feel so connected to everything and just so alive and so aware, and we might even see lights and colors, and we remember it all our lives. It can be a really big deal. That's an initiation. It's an expansion of your personal energy field.
Okay. I know as a child, I remember being in church and just getting this overwhelming feeling. And it was like, it was too much. It's awareness that I was much smaller and the world was much bigger.
Now, that could have very well have been one. The first initiation happens spontaneously to people, and most of the time the second one. The third one, you usually need a facilitator. I teach it in quite a bit of depth on Be a Modern Master. I had a lot of fun teaching about initiations there. It's where I go into it the most. I think you'll be really fascinated by it.
Well, great. Well, thank you.
How nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Hey, you guys, we are out of time. Come check out my pet course that I'm so excited about. Okay. I love everything about it. Come look at the information on it, because the drawings are adorable. All right. And I got really going on it. I am so involved right now with worrying about endangered species. So there's quite a bit of not just about your fur babies, but also about working with farm animals, which I have a lot of history on, as well as working with animals in the wild. So it's a broad spectrum course. Be sure you check out my blog this week on endangered species, and I think next week I'm going to talk about elephants. So I'm really on animals right now. So I hope you will come check it out. Again, someone was somebody just put it here in the chat window a minute ago, and Shirley, why don't you drop it back in again for them so they see it down here? You definitely have to come